Highlights of the annual Toyota Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day are proudly brought to you by Toyota South Africa Motors in association with the Four-Wheel Drive Club of Southern Africa, Western Cape. The pristine white dunes of Atlantis are usually quiet and serene. But once a year, when COVID doesn't interfere, the place becomes a hive of frantic activity where families and friends meet to challenge themselves and their vehicles in the soft white sands on the Western Cape's well-known dunes, barely 50 kilometers north of the mother city. Welcome to the 2022 Toyota Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day. The Toyota Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day has been a firm fixture on the calendar for 14 consecutive years until the COVID pandemic caused a 2-year interruption. The break, however, did nothing to dampen the appetite of the men and women who love adventure and fun. And when it was announced that the event was back on the calendar, no fewer than 75 families jumped at the chance to sign up and join in the fun. As for Toyota, South Africa's leading manufacturer has been involved with the event from its inception. And as Letty Labuschagne explains, they were glad to have the event back.
It's wonderful to be back. I mean, we've supported the Atlantis Fun Days for 15 years since its inception, and it's great to be back after a two-year break from COVID. There's about 75 vehicles competing today, and about just over 31 of them are Toyota. So it's beautiful to see all these cars in this beautiful environment.
Letty is Toyota's General Manager for Marketing, and she found it gratifying to see so many of their products taking part in the Fun Day, not only to see them in action, but also giving her the chance to connect with their customers and understand their lifestyles.
This is a perfect fit for us because it really gives us the opportunity to connect with our customers, but also to see how our cars extend their lifestyle. You know, it just supports their lifestyle. And lastly, it's an absolutely beautiful day to just get friends and family together to enjoy what they're passionate about.
Putting together the Toyota Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day is no easy task, and it takes a dedicated team from the Four-Wheel Drive Club of Southern Africa, Western Cape to make it all happen. On the day, however, scores of marshals, scorers, assistants and recovery specialists are also employed to ensure the smooth running of the event. Food stalls are set up, ablutions are put in place, and everything is run under the watchful eyes of the city of Cape Town. As such, the nature reserve is kept in pristine condition, with the wind sweeping away the multiple tracks just hours after the event, hiding any trace of the frantic activities that marked the Toyota Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day. But there would be plenty of tracks made before the Cape Doctor could fix the tracks, and early on the morning of October 1st, 2022, more than 70 off-road vehicles representing most makes on the market arrived at the entrance to Atlantis Dunes. Several marshals were on duty to receive the crews, check them into the system and assist by deflating the tires on all competing vehicles to the correct pressures for the terrain. Once inside the protected area, competitive vehicles were lined up in chutes, forming queues of up to 10 vehicles, which would be traveling together throughout the day, with a group leader moving the mini convoy from one obstacle to the next in a predetermined order. As ever, the day was extremely well run and started with a detailed briefing to all participants before getting the competition and the fun underway. The Four-Wheel Drive Club of Southern Africa, Western Cape has a relaxed way of doing things, but when it came to safety and the rules, there would clearly be no compromise. But what exactly is the Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day and how difficult is it really? Well, let's try and summarize. The overall course consists of 8 different obstacles, known as tasks. This year, all of the tasks had a time limit of 2 minutes and 30 seconds, which helped to keep the action flowing throughout the day. Some tasks demanded that competitors complete the course as fast as possible, while others included a regularity element, where crews had to aim to complete the task within a predetermined time span. And it wasn't always just about the car's off-road abilities and the driver's skills either, as many of the tasks also included an additional challenge of sorts for either the co-driver, the driver, or both of them. In the past, the organizers included an element of Boere sport to add to the action for the entire family. But this year the decision was made to concentrate more on vehicle-based activities. Not that the passengers were left with nothing to do, on the contrary. With all the preparations, driver's briefing and other formalities done and dusted, it was time for the 70 cars and crews to head out to their respective starting tasks. The area is fairly contained, with the tasks in relatively close proximity to each other, and the 9:30 start time meant it was still relatively cool in the Cape. The sun beating down on the white sands can be both blinding and punishing, but this year's Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day was blessed with mercifully mild weather. Let's take a look at the action, starting at task 1. This one was fairly straightforward, as the marshal on duty explained.
This obstacle number 1 is a hill climb. Got 3 flags, 30 points, 40 points and 50 points. Then you have to go up top, pass the red flags with your front wheels, then you get your full points.
In reality, the task, sponsored by the Burnco 4-Wheel Drive Club, required skill and planning, also a bit of confidence. By selecting the easiest option, a competitor could only score 30 points, whereas a full marks finish would net them 50. But if you don't make it to the top, you leave with nothing. So we already know that bigger wheels that are deflated to the correct pressures are your friends when it comes to the sand and dune driving. But they are not the only ones on your side, especially when it comes to driving uphill, like the big dune here at Dune Charge. This is where a heavy right foot, backed by plenty of horses under the bonnet, come in extremely handy. Add to that the sand that was properly churned up by each group, and it quickly becomes clear that a full mark score isn't that easy to achieve. With that said, the day was organized in such a way that each of the groups would be the first to tackle a specific task, as the groups rotated in a set order, thus giving everyone a fair shot throughout the day. Next up was Task 2, Skarpsteker, which was supported by Terrain Tamer. This one was an exception to the rule, as all the other obstacles had a completion time of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But Skarpsteker was a little different.
So it's number 2, it's a Skarpstekertjie, and it's like a Gymkhana type obstacle, but you need to finish as close to 1 minute 30 seconds as possible.
The challenge of finding the right pace without stopping or reversing was always going to be tough. Even so, a number of competitors absolutely nailed it, bringing their cars across the line in exactly 1 minute 30 seconds. At the same time, quite a few of their competitors managed to make a meal of it, losing significant points in the process. Oh, and did we mention that every second too early or too late also resulted in a penalty? Despite the threat of points lost, most crews clearly still had plenty of fun, and that while going slower than anywhere else on the dunes. Toyota Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day was shaping up to be a cracking affair, with more than 70 4x4 vehicles filled with off-road enthusiasts spread out across the Atlantis Conservation Area. Join us after the break for more action from the spectacular white dunes. Welcome back to the beautiful white sand dunes of Atlantis, where the Toyota Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day was now in full swing. The mercury was rising, which meant the sand got looser and softer as the day went on, and completing an obstacle or task was becoming more of a challenge. So off to task 3. The gates, as it was known, was sponsored by Go Mad and featured a series of 3 gates to negotiate in a specific order, but that wasn't all.
It's a timed event where the passenger has to hold this and it will buzz any time it touches the wire, and we count those obviously. And then any flag that gets knocked over, that's a penalty as well. But obviously it's a bit tricky here with a bit of the moguls that we've set up with it.
A steady hand from the passenger was required in order to make the most of this event. And as ever, some crews managed better than others. As a matter of fact, we saw one lady simply ace her side of the task, where quite a few others recorded a few unfortunate buzzes, resulting in penalty points. But then came the speedy portion of the task, where the driver had to steer his or her way accurately through a number of gates before charging to the finish. And one chimney driver in particular took the charge to the finish to heart. If nothing else, the gates was certainly exciting to watch.
This is obstacle 4. They've got to do it in 2.5 minutes, 2 loops, while the co-driver ties as many figure-of-8 knots on a piece of rope for extra points.
Welcome to Bosbok, also known as Task 4. This one was a toughie, especially for the diesel-powered vehicles, as they lacked the high kilowatts needed to power through the soft twists and turns of the circuit, set up and supported by 4x4 mega wool. To make things more interesting, the co-drivers had to tie figure-of-8 knots in a rope while the drivers fought their way through the obstacle, which proved the undoing of many competitors. Even so, there were plenty of smiles and even more sand flying, though there were also some vehicle recoveries needed, as the unforgiving dunes of Atlantis took their toll.
Right. Okay, 5 knots.
Too little speed on the uphill. You just get momentum. But it is what it is.
Over at Task 5, it was time for the co-drivers simply to strap in and hold on.
They call it the Cape Cobra. It's obstacle number 5. Well, everybody's trying to finish it at least, but it seems to be a bit of a challenge for most of the guys.
The Cape Cobra, as the Tiger Wheel and Tyre supported task was known, consisted of a tight, winding route that required strategy and skill for success, with some corners extremely easy to overcook. This one truly showed the skill and experience of the driver, and those with a magic touch managed to bag maximum points. Oh, and as with any other obstacle, penalties were awarded for stopping, touching any of the markers, and reversing in the obstacle. Ending up entirely outside the markers meant a DNF and no points on the board at all. Task 6 was called The Garage, and it was sponsored by Enertech.
Okay, it's obstacle 6. It's called The Garage. So it's 4 garages that you have to go up into. Yeah, your co-pilot has got a box, nuts and bolts that they've got to tighten within the box, and then there's a time limit allocated at 2.5 minutes.
The route here was challenging for sure, but to make things even more interesting, The passenger in each car had to fit as many nuts and bolts together as they could in the allotted time of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Then again, faster was better, both in terms of the driving and the nut threading, so both the driver and the passenger had to be on point. Things got intricate at task 7, especially for those who struggle to remember things.
This is 7, and it's like all the others, it's against time, but halfway they have to stop and look in a box. There's 10 goodies in there, and they have, when they get to the end, they have to tell us how many did they remember. That's that.
Selfwood tweezer, padpas, sleutel, houseclamp, pen, spyker en pypapier.
The obstacle itself was testing, but not the toughest one out there. But then there was the added pressure of the co-driver having to remember items that they could only see for a limited time. As always, there was a limit of 2 minutes 30 for the entire obstacle, so taking more time when memorizing could end up costing the team dearly if they didn't make it to the finish in time. As ever, some people made it look easy, while some clearly had issues with their memory banks. Oh, and this one was supported by the Marker Toyota Group.
It's a cell phone.
Yeah.
It's a paintbrush. It's a key.
The final task of the 2022 Toyota Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day was Loop the Loop, a high-speed up and down course that required a bit of chutzpah, but also some finesse and a keen understanding of 4x4 sand driving.
Okay, this is obstacle number 8. It's called Loop the Loop, and here's a nice timed obstacle which they just get us through as quickly as possible.
This was also an obstacle where tyre pressure was a key factor. Too much pressure and making it through would be nearly impossible. Too little, on the other hand, and there was a very real danger that a tyre could come off the rim, resulting in the need for recovery and 0 points in the bank. And just like that, all 8 tasks were done. But there's still plenty to tell, so join us after the break for more from the 2022 Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day. As we mentioned earlier, the event was again sponsored by Toyota SA, who invited a small selection of members of the media to experience the thrills and spills of the Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day firsthand, from behind the wheel of a mix of Toyota Fortuners and Hiluxes, all in stock standard trim. The media crews were embroiled in their own mini battle, but we caught up with them to get their impressions of the event, especially after getting to grips with the luxury SUVs and bakkies in the soft sand of Atlantis. One man who is a veteran of several Atlantis 4x4 Fun Days is Marula Media's Brendan Staniforth. The affable author has seen his fair share of action, knows his way around a Fortuner, and has also competed at Toyota's upcountry 4x4 event, the Toyota Winter 4x4 Jamboree. Here are his impressions.
It has performed better than I have, sadly. It's a 2.8 GD6 Fortuner VX, so 2.8, 150 kilowatts, 500 newtons, 6-speed auto. And they're exceptionally capable, although my skills are letting me down somewhat today.
And his sentiments were clearly echoed by the rest of his media colleagues.
Well, you know what to expect. It does its thing. So, nice little, nice big vehicle.
I think it's more than capable. I think we just have to do the necessary adjustments, the lows and the highs for how to adjust it to be able to conquer the dunes. But it's capable in itself.
But it wasn't only the media who really enjoyed their Toyota Fortuners. Philip Volskink and wife Alicia were the highest placed Toyota crew at this year's Toyota Winter 4x4 Jamboree. And as such, they found themselves behind the wheel of a standard Toyota at Atlantis Dunes.
Oh, we're really enjoying it. It's really fun. It's something different. We're doing some more speed sections. It's really fun. It's something out of our comfort zone that we really enjoy. And I think Alicia would agree with me.
As for the rest of the drivers and passengers, the message was always the same. This was fun. People came from all over the Western Cape to take part in the event. And as ever, the Toyota Atlantis Dunes 4x4 Fun Day brought together a diverse mix of people, all sharing in their love for the outdoors, cars, and of course, off-road driving.
Yeah, it's lekker. It's something different also, yeah. And I would love to come again, and all the other ones coming up.
Well, we love it for the fun of it. Obviously, it's first things first, keep smiles going.
With all of the 70-plus teams and cars safely through the course, the shadows were starting to lengthen over the dunes. Contestants, families and friends all gathered at the Bedouin-tented HQ to witness the conclusion of the day's proceedings. But before the prize giving, we caught up with Gerard Buitenhuis and Charles Kruger of the 4-Wheel Drive Club of Southern Africa, Western Cape. The two played key roles in this year's event, ably assisted by a team of highly experienced off-road enthusiasts, all of whom are members of the club.
We had enough time to sort this lot out, and we step up our obstacles a little notch, make them a little bit harder, but it was still done in such a way that it was still a family fun day.
The field today was just over 40% of the field was Toyotas. I know about halfway through the day there was a Toyota running in second place. We wait for prize giving to see who actually won it, for Toyota or one of these other monsters, but yeah, let's wait and see.
When the dust, or is it sand, had settled, it was finally time to announce the winners. But before we get to the overall winners, there was the small matter of the highest placed Toyota crew. This prize had become tradition at both of Toyota's 4x4 events, with the highest placed crews from each of the events winning a trip to the other event. So the winners here would be travelling to Winter next year in order to participate in the annual Toyota Winter 4x4 Jamboree. This time around, it was Aubrey van der Merwe and Johanre Swart, driving a 2007 Toyota Hilux, who won their way to Winter. But on to the overall winners of the 2022 Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day. When all the scores were tallied, the overall victory went to none other than Dino and Megan Burnett in their Land Rover. Dino was extremely happy to be crowned as the king of the dunes, and not for the first time either.
Yes, it was a bit more challenging. They toned the Boere Sport a little bit down, but you still had to read the rules booklet thoroughly. So it was a nice change, very good change. The drivers liked it very much.
And that was that for the 2022 edition of the Toyota Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day in the Dunes, where family and friends enjoyed the pleasures of 4x4 and off-road driving, all courtesy of sponsors Toyota. We hope to see you all again in 2023. These highlights of the 2022 Toyota Atlantis 4x4 Fun Day was proudly brought to you by Toyota South Africa Motors in association with the 4-Wheel Drive Club of Southern Africa, Western Cape.